To the Point with Michael Williams.
From traffic to the cost of living in the city, just two of the issues the next mayor of West Palm Beach will be facing and tackling. Hello and welcome. Voters in West Palm Beach will be headed to the polls in just a bit more than a week to pick a new mayor. One of the largest cities, of course, in our area. And today, my guest, the only candidate not on the city commission, but Priscilla Taylor, a familiar face to so many of you. She's held many elective offices, and we thank you for coming in and being our guest on To the Point.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit for our five-county audience about your background, from Port of Palm Beach commissioner to state representative to county commissioner, but flesh out the background a little bit for those who don't know you and our wider audience.
Sure. Well, professionally, I owned and operated an insurance agency. I think that is very important because of the business background. But my first foray into public life was the Port. I served at the Port for 2 terms, and I was chairwoman twice. Oversaw one of the most major expansions that they've had at the Port ever. I left the Port, went to Florida House of Representatives. While I was there, I was minority whip, speaker pro tem designee, and then Governor Charlie Crist appointed me to come back to Palm Beach County because one of the commissioners took ill. And I served there for, I think, about two and a half terms, because I fulfilled some of the other person's term. But while there, I was the first female county mayor. Worked on many initiatives that benefited the citizens of West Palm Beach and Palm Beach County.
As the mayoral race shapes up, why'd you decide to jump in? What is the biggest issue you feel is facing the city, and how do you tackle it?
Well, I decided to jump in for a couple of reasons. First is that it is an open seat, so the mayor cannot run. And number two, after living here in West Palm for 35 years, I've just seen some things that I'm just concerned about, mainly the lack of responsibility to our neighboring communities.
How do you mean that?
It seems like everything has been gone focused on Flagler and not on the neighborhoods. As you know, West Palm Beach is made up of about 55.1 square miles, and of that square miles, we have neighborhoods. We have Flamingo Park, North Shore, and the infrastructure has been allowed to deteriorate. Just not enough focus being paid to those neighborhoods. So that was brought a lot of concern to me. But then when you start looking at Flagler and you look at what the commissioners are doing as far as overlooking the will of the voters, I feel it's just something that we need to be concerned about.
When you talk about overlooking the will of the voters, you've talked at times about saying you're for growth, but smart growth. You think growth is happening too quickly. Touching on the Flagler downtown piece of your criticism, you've complained about high-rises that are going up, whereas the will of the voters had said they'd like to keep that at a 4-story level, and yet we're 5-story, and we're seeing it higher than that. I assume that's part of what you're talking about, the style of growth going on downtown.
Correct, and ignoring the will of the voters. You know, the voters put this on a referendum, and it was on the ballot. It was voted for in excess of over 4,000 or 5,000 people. So that meant that they wanted to limit the height of the buildings on Flagler. But our commissioners for the city ignored that. As far as the OBD, Okeechobee Business District, we need a traffic study. We need a comprehensive traffic study to outline where those spots are, where we have the biggest problems. And when you talk to commissioners, some say one has been done, others say there hasn't, and I'm saying we need one. So you have the county, you have the city, and you have the Palm Beach all concerned as to why aren't we having a traffic study done.
Would that be inclusive of the ongoing debate that we've been having for years now about extension of State Road 441, inclusive of that concern?
State Road 7. That's different. Yeah, that's different.
Would that be inclusive of that?
Well, when we talk about downtown now, you know, even though their traffic out there is really picking up as well, but their issue, from what I followed over the years, is that they don't want that road through because of the water, the damage it will do to their drinking water. But for a safety standpoint, because as when we started, you said that West Palm was the biggest city in the county. But we have Westlake, which is out west, which is set really to be the larger than West Palm. So you have a traffic concern even there. But right now, State Road 7's issue from the residents out there has been that it would damage the water.
Talk about the neighborhood concerns you have that you mentioned at the outset. So you feel that there's not been enough attention paid.
Right.
What specifically, as mayor, would you do to reverse that trend in terms of projects and focus?
Well, one thing that I would want to do is work on the infrastructure. I mean, I live within the neighborhoods, one that has been totally ignored. You have flooding on the roads, drainage is poor, potholes in paved roads, which is really horrible when you see that. So those things should not be allowed. You start having blight in neighborhoods, and that is something that we do not want. So I want to empower the neighborhoods, bring value to the neighborhoods, bring a sense of equity, encourage home ownership. You know, sometimes when you allow houses to just sit and blight set in, then you have crime, which is a problem. So we have to work on all of that. But the neighborhoods have been ignored, so everything has been done for downtown.
Is that a project you tackle with an outreach for more state and federal dollars to help with the blight, to help turn that around?
You have to work together, yes.
Talk about, you've said on your website your two opponents, we're talking Keith James, Paula Ryan, have, in your words, completely lost touch with the residents in the city. How do you mean that?
Well, as we said, with them voting against the residents for the height limitation, they realize the concern of the residents in downtown Palm Beach. When you talk about the height, they just now approved us 32-story building on a 1.4-acre site, which, you know, so you grant waivers. You have people within these communities who actually bought their property thinking that they would be able to see the waterfront and, you know, and benefit from it. You don't think that, you know, commissioners or people that you vote into office will not listen to what you say.
Two other issues you've talked about. One, crime, which many of the residents, and we've covered the story extensively. People said crime happens. We come out, we all talk about it, say we need to do something about it in neighborhoods in West Palm Beach, and then nothing happens. Talk about that, what your focus and approach would be above and beyond what's being done now.
Well, I'm in favor of hiring more police officers. I believe in community policing, get more police, especially on the north end, because that's the place where it concentrates a lot of the crime. You need to get the policemen out of their cars, talking to the residents, because right now it's like the residents don't trust the police officers, so things happen in the community, they won't communicate, and you know, sometime maybe they can be solved. But the community policing, hiring more police officers, supporting the chief with what she's doing, because I think her initiative to have the shot spotters, to have the crime lab, to also have the connection with the cameras throughout the community, I think all of those are good things, because we know technology is really the thing of the future, so we have to be in tune with that. But I feel that if we work with the community policing, bringing more police on, supporting the chief with what she's doing as far as technology, I think we could put a dent in it.
What kind of numbers are we talking? What kind of money, and what does that mean for the city coffers?
Well, they've already, you know, have the spot shotters, and they already have the crime lab.
But for more police, what kind of number are you thinking about in talking to people around the city or experts? Well, I can tell you this, I haven't really come up with a number, but I can say that if we have spent over $4 million or $5 million fighting State Road 7, if we are putting 2.5 in a privately owned building downtown, those dollars can be prioritized to benefit the citizens of West Palm, and not just a few, but for, you know, just benefit the citizens on a whole. So I am for prioritizing how we spend our money and being very good stewards of the taxpayers' money. Paula Ryan, when she spoke to me, said one of her chief concerns was affordable housing. You too have talked about that in a city where many people say we're being priced out of any ability to live here and therefore work here. We have to find somewhere else to be. How do we tackle that problem? Well, it's going to take a public-private partnerships, I think, because we cannot just think that the government itself can take care of all of that. You get money down from HUD, you have the county, you know, who probably would work with us, but we need to give some incentives to builders or developers to build affordable housing. Right now, we know that individuals work in Palm Beach County and West Palm Beach, but then they live in Martin and St. Lucie County. Right. The average price of a home here is $350-something thousand, which, you know, and the mayor in her state of the city, she said, well, Mayor Moyle. Right. The numbers have gone down as, you know, as far as, you know, employment, people are working, but poverty numbers have gone up. So that means that they're not making enough money to sustain. So I just feel that
affordable housing is an issue that we have to tackle, but we tackle it together, working on some public-private partnerships.
And indeed, a debate and a discussion going on in cities across the USA right now, this issue about affordable housing. Your closing statement to voters on March 12th, you have a high profile for your service here, but they'll be looking at different names with different approaches, different nuances. So what is your closing argument to the voters of West Palm Beach? Why you versus two opponents who also have considerable experience?
Yeah, well, one thing that I bring is experience, because I do have experience on the state level, the federal level, and the local level. I've noticed that our present commissioners, they don't collaborate, whether it starts from the top down. You know, you've got to work together in order to get things done. I have a proven track record of getting things done here in Palm Beach County.
So in terms of priorities, what's the first year of an administration look like for you?
Well, the first year we're going to have to look at the what we're doing as far as this building and the traffic, to take a look at it and get a vision for Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, as to where we want to go, involve the people in the city as we tackle these issues. Crime is certainly an issue that we need to focus on. The infrastructure, when I was at the county, I pushed for that 1-cent sales tax to get our infrastructure done. We got to make sure it's spent correctly. So just things that make things better for the citizens of West Palm Beach, focusing on the health and safety and welfare of our citizens.
Final thought?
Final thought is March the 12th, and hope we can get everyone out to vote, and look forward to being the mayor.
Thank you. We appreciate your time with our audience on To The Point as always. And of course, we'll be covering the campaign all the way up to and through the vote. Coming up, a new legislative session about to start. We'll be looking out for this area. Our roundtable takes up that, water issues, when we come back.